Great. Well, thank you everyone for making the time to be here this afternoon. My name's Paul Savich. I'm the Managing Director of WA1 Resources. Our project is located in Western Australia on the WA Northern Territory border, in an area which has historically had limited to no exploration. Last year, we went out to the project armed with a comprehensive geophysical data set and an RC rig, and made Australia's first ever major niobium discovery. And in fact, what we found out there at our Luni carbonatite was the first major niobium discovery anywhere in the world for over half a century. It's been a remarkable journey to date. We discovered Luni only 6 months after our IPO. And it was actually on the 16th of November last year, so it's exactly 1 year since we announced to the market the Luni discovery. So happy birthday, Luni. It's been, since then we've raised $35 million and have been rapidly drilling out Luni with over 25,000 metres completed. Yet it still feels like we're so far up towards the beginning of the story. Today I wanted to use this opportunity to go back to the start of the niobium industry, because I think it's really interesting and important in terms of where WA1's found itself today. And it's also going to be, in my humble opinion, a much more interesting way for us to spend most of the next 15 minutes. So, it was the 1950s and Brazil was transitioning to an industrial powerhouse and opening up its economy to the world. Part of this included a post-war search for minerals, with a large push in the Brazilian state of Minas Gerais. Early geological reports had revealed that there was potential for a rare element called niobium to exist in the region. This led to an exploration push, and in 1953, the first holes were drilled into a carbonatite intrusion, which is a geological plug or pipe of sorts. What further drilling defined was that the top part of the carbonatite had weathered down, leaving an extremely high-grade blanket of niobium mineralisation almost at surface. What they had discovered was an incredibly large and high-grade niobium deposit, which today is one of the world's best, or probably even the best, mine on Earth. The deposit is known as the Arajá niobium mine, and it's owned by a private company called CBMM. So, in 1961, mining and production of a rough niobium concentrate commenced at Arajá, and it was primarily being sold to Europe, which was effectively the birth of the niobium industry as we know it today. And then during the 1960s, the family-owned company CBMM was established to facilitate the mine's operations and held 50% ownership of the Arajá deposit, with the state of Minas Gerais holding the other 50%. Also in the 1960s, CBMM embarked on developing what at that time was a novel flow sheet to produce a very valuable ferroniobium product. And they would then produce that at their operation instead of simply selling a concentrate to Europe. Following processing success in the early 1970s, CBMM commenced production of a ferroniobium end product at site. Their success took the production of ferroniobium out of the hands of a very select group of European companies and put it in their hands, the holders of the world's largest niobium reserve. Between 1975 and 1979, CBMM established marketing and sales offices in North America, Europe, Asia and Russia to distribute their product globally. With niobium being rapidly adopted and recognised as a very unique and powerful metal, between 1976 and 1977, 2 new niobium mines came online. One in Canada, which is today owned by Niobec, and a second Brazilian operation, which is today owned by CMOC. And this is how global supply remains today. 3 mines supplying the world its niobium needs. Arajá, however, has remained in an absolute class of its own, with a 2.5% head grade, and which dwarfs all others, and is the only mine that's consistently able to upscale its production. Over the decades, niobium slowly worked its way into almost every aspect of the economy in 2 forms. Ferroniobium, which is used for steel, and niobium oxide, which is used in high-tech applications. In steel, niobium is important because the addition of a small amount of niobium per tonne of steel causes the iron to solidify in densely packed smaller particles. This is known as grain refinement, and that's why niobium is so powerful. The image on screen is simply trying to demonstrate that the ability to bend niobium alloyed steel without that cracking occurring that you can see in that top piece of steel. Niobium from one of the three mines, most likely Arajar, is all around us. It's in almost every car chassis, and it's certainly in every exhaust. And it's fascinating that when one use is diminishing, like the use of niobium or having an exhaust in your car, there's a new use which is born, and niobium is used in the stainless steel housings around EV batteries. Today, niobium is absolutely essential for major infrastructure projects, and it's contained in almost all new high-rise construction and bridges. And the multi-trillion-dollar steel industry is over 7% of global carbon emissions. And the only replacement for steel is better steel. So the steel industry needs to do more with less. This is known as dematerialisation, and niobium has a massive role to play. And in the form niobium oxide, it's used in a wide range of applications. Typically, anywhere where large heat cycles are required, you'll find niobium, which is why its application is incredibly important to aerospace and defence purposes. And its ability to act as a superconductor at low temperatures ensures niobium's usage will become even more prolific as we transition further to a tech economy. And the benefits of niobium in common battery technologies is only just starting to be recognised, with a prototype Lotus Elise now driving around the roads of Europe with a battery that charges 250 kilometres of range in just 6 minutes. This would mean your EV wouldn't need such a large battery because you could simply pull over, have a coffee and charge it up. And that ability for niobium to conduct also means the battery doesn't go through heat cycles. And a really good example of this is when you plug your phone into a charger and you can feel the battery heat up. It's going through a heat cycle. It's deteriorating the batteries. No excessive heat cycles means less deterioration, enabling up to 10 times as many charge cycles. So, niobium battery technology will mean your battery can be about half the size, therefore lighter, lasting longer and saving a huge amount of e-waste. However, the barrier to adoption is due to a severe lack of diversified supply of niobium. 50% of global niobium demand is from North America, Europe, Japan and Korea, where niobium is the second highest supply risk mineral. To put into perspective what being the second highest supply risk mineral means, in the USA, number one is gallium. Gallium is used in LEDs and in semiconductors. 98% of gallium supply comes from China, and there is now an export ban from China on gallium. Niobium has an ability to improve so many aspects of our lives in an incredibly efficient way, and approximately 80% of niobium's applications are not efficiently substitutable. The world's largest economies can't continue to rely on one mine for the niobium that their economies desperately require, and over time, key governments have realised they have a problem. What if the niobium tap from Arajar is turned off? In 2011, the answer for China, Korea and Japan was to buy a combined 30% stake of CBMM to help guarantee supply. 30% of the world's best mine for US $4 billion. That was a US $13 billion valuation for the CBMM company as a whole, keeping in mind that half of the deposit is owned by the state. And the interest purchased by POSCO, etc., were minority, non-voting interest purely to assist with receiving supply. In today's dollars, that's an approximately AUD $30 billion valuation for CBMM, which has a single mine. And at the time, CBMM was producing about 66,000 tonne per annum compared to about 100,000 tonne per annum today. Nothing even remotely close to the quality of the Arajar mine has been discovered anywhere in the world since 1953. But that changed last year when we drilled our Luni carbonatite discovery. And to put this image into perspective, that's about half the carbonatite intrusion, and those drill pads there are about 100 metres apart. The West Arunta project is located 1,300 kilometres by road from Port Hedland and 800 kilometres from Alice via the Mid-State Highway. And our key focus is obviously the Luni carbonatite. After completing just 3 reconnaissance drill holes last year, we recommenced drilling in March this year and have completed now over 25,000 metres of drilling. Luni is a plug just like Arajar and the other 2 niobium operations. Not to mention that carbonatites globally host some of the world's best mines like Palabora, Bayan Obo and Linus's Mount Weld, just to name a few. The plan view top right is a grayscale image of gravity image of Looney, and it's showing an elliptical plug. And that's what we believe defines the core of our carbonatite intrusion. That being said, we haven't finished laterally constraining it yet, and the heat map is indicating where we've found very high grades to date. But finding a world-class carbonatite is rare enough, but to make your discovery truly world-class, you need weathering processes at play within your carbonatite to form a high-grade blanket of mineralisation as seen at Arajar and also Linus's Mount Weld. And on the bottom left is a cross-section through the key infield part of the Looney carbonatite, and drilling to date is suggesting that at Looney there is a continuous flat-lying blanket of very high-grade mineralisation very close to surface. And it's a high-grade blanket just like this one at Looney, which has been mined at Arajar since the 1960s at a 2.5% head grade. Over the next few months, we'll continue to release regular, meaningful drilling results, with only 60% of the drill holes completed at Looney to date having been reported to market. Within a world-class carbonatite, the focus very quickly shifts from finding a critical mass of high-quality rocks to unlocking value through developing a flow sheet. In terms of processing, we're looking to approach this the same way as the existing three operations, which comprise physical beneficiation, flotation, and pyrometallurgy or smelting. And they all produce a ferroniobium product at site, an end product at site, and there is very typically no further processing required before use by the consumers. The recoveries in the other existing operations are between 30 and 60%, and most of the recovery losses are in the flotation step. And so the key technical challenge is producing a concentrate via flotation. The existing operations float two key niobium-bearing minerals, pyrochlore and columbite, and mineralogy completed to date at Looney has identified that they are also our key niobium-bearing minerals. And those operations that have been going now for over half a century have been commercially producing ferroniobium for over half a century, and so we've recently started our process test work and we're leveraging on existing industry experience. And the image of the Looney core at the bottom, that's what pay dirt looks like in a world-class carbonatite. It's not very visually appealing, but it's extremely valuable. We're also doing everything we can on the key work streams listed here. Tom Lyons, our Executive Director, has the benefit of having been through all of these aspects over the last decade during his time with Agrimin Limited, whose potassium sulphate project is located just to the southeast of Looney. Until these items are addressed, they are risk items. While they are risk items, they have a negative effect on our project's value. And the great thing about having a world-class carbonatite means you can make long-term commitments to long lead items after only a few drill holes. So our focus on the development front is to remove as many of the aspects of each of these risks as soon as possible. A tangible example of us making significant effort to tackle these is the recent signing of a negotiation protocol with the Noosa people. The protocol sets out a path for us to reach an agreement for a mining operation and provide benefits to the communities, which ties in with our passion for WA1 to have a long-lasting and very positive impact on the communities around which we operate. And I won't have time to talk about a P2 carbonatite today. However, we have news flow coming in the coming months regarding this discovery, but we have established a camp and infrastructure at Looney now, which will allow us to operate in the region reasonably comfortably for the foreseeable future. This year, we pulled together a high-calibre team, and now we are well positioned to execute our exploration, development, and corporate objectives. Our market cap is $500 million and still provides compelling value for a highly strategic, world-class niobium discovery, especially in the context of the 2011 CBMM transaction I spoke about earlier. And the company also currently has over $20 million in cash and no debt. And our cash balance is complemented by a growing institutional shareholder base, which has been very thoughtfully constructed and is importantly able to continue to fund us well into the future. So, in closing, over the coming months and quarters, we will continue to deliver regular exploration results as we continue to understand the magnitude of the Looney discovery. WA1 owns 100% of the project. We have a strongly aligned shareholder base, management team and board, and this means we are completely in the driver's seat to continue to execute our very structured corporate and operational objectives. Thanks very much for making the time.